Hi, I'm Yvonne Brooks from McNally Jackson Books. Today we're going to make our own back-to-school pocket pets. Now these pets are little mice and they're made out of felt. Here's our little goth. She's got black and white trimmed ears and a little high contrast colored thread there, the button eye. And I made the tail out of pipe cleaners with a little yarn around it. And this mouse is also made out of felt. It has button eyes, two different colored eyes, and the trim is sewn around there. And this has a braided yarn tail. Now you can make these out of felt because it's a little easier and you don't have to worry about the fabric fraying when you cut them along the edges, or you can just use any material that you might have lying around your house, and that's always fun too. I stitched these with colored embroidery thread and a sharp needle, but you can also take a hole puncher, and this is the 1/8 inch, this is the smaller hole puncher, and punch holes along the edges and then sew it with yarn, with a plastic needle and yarn, especially for someone that's younger, or you might want just the thickness of the yarn design. If you don't have a plastic needle, I'll just show you this. Some of you may know this trick before. We may have discussed it. Take your yarn, colored thread, and you take a piece of tape, a little scotch tape here, and you make a little pointy needle out of it. So that way you always have a needle on hand for something thicker like that if you don't have a plastic needle at home. Now what I've done here, I'm going to start and show you the body first. Made a paper pattern. And the paper patterns, this is 6.5 inches long and it's folded, and this is 4.5 inches long for the younger mouse, smaller mouse. And you're cutting it as though you were going to cut a heart, but then you don't put that notch at the top. And the same goes for this. You can see these are the shapes of your body, and you want that much fabric if these are the sizes that you decide to make. So I pre-cut some fabric here. I took the felt, folded it in half, laid my paper pattern on the top there, and then traced around it and did the cut, and there we go. So you can see there. And these are the little notches I made. Let me pin this back together to give you an idea of what's going to happen when we stitch it together. Here we go. And another little pin here at the end, near the end. Okay, so now what I did was I took a pair of really sharp scissors and cut a little slot through the felt there, and it comes out the other side so that you have those two little slots. They don't have to be very big, but they're just for later we're going to put the ears through there. Right, now let's make our ears. It's also a paper pattern here. This is 5 inches across, so when you fold your paper it's going to be about 2.5 inches, of course. And what I did was I took this pattern, folded some felt in half, laid it on the felt, and then trimmed around it. So when we open it, we have figure 8 ears here, and there's the smaller one. This is 4.5 inches long, and then you fold that in half and you've got about 2 inches there for your smaller ears. Okay, so now we have our felt ears, our felt body, and in this case I made a tail out of pipe cleaners. And when we start sewing our mouse, it's always better to start for this pattern, start at the nose. And like I said, you can have those two different ways of doing it. You can punch the holes with the hole puncher and use the yarn, or you can just stitch it along the top. So after you get to the stitching, you do the stitching all along here, and you leave, right before you end, you leave a little opening to put the tail in, and then you will stitch it down to kind of keep the tail from coming out there. And if it's a yarn tail, it's a little easier, but then this is fun because you can use it to help your mouse stand up a little better. Okay, now we've got this place for the ears, right? Let me take the tail off and set it there. We are going to take our ears that we cut here. We're going to kind of roll it up a little. Because it's felt, we can do that. And we're going to push it through the little slot. Didn't make it too wide because we want the neck of this part of the pattern is going to be fitting right through here, through the ears. There you go. And then they pop out on the other side. And now you've got your ears. It can help your little pocket pet stand up. And you'll have your tail. And the last step are the eyes. In this case, I was thinking that one side maybe I'd have a yellow eye, and maybe on the other side I would have a pink eye. There you go. And if you don't have any buttons, you can always make Sharpie eyes. So have fun experimenting with different materials, different fabrics, whether it's felt. You can even make them out of paper. If you make them out of a thinner fabric, you can stuff them. I think you'll have a great time making your back to school pocket pets. There you go. Thanks for listening.